μόνο 3 και 4. Εντάξει. Καμιά ωρίτσα. Ναι, κάνε μια. Ένα κινητό. Θα το πάει πέρα. Η ώρα να το βάλει. 11-12. Το είπα ήταν μεγάλη ιστορία.
Hello, everyone. And right now, we will start our next session. So if you are interested in the culture and creative industries, we would like to see you in here. Please join us. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Start. Okay, so hello everyone again. This is Melisa from Creative Business Network. So we are welcoming you to our Bright event, and we will talk about more culture and creative industries, innovation and the technologies, and disruptive changes regarding these industries. So we are happy to see you in here, and let's start our sessions because we already know we are a little bit behind our schedule. So thank you so much. Firstly, we will start with our Creative Business Network and the Creative Business Investor presentation with my colleague David. And we will give more details about the importance of these industries and why investors should invest in these sectors and so on. So, okay. This is the firstly, I would like to explain why this is important for us. I mean, how many of you know about culture and creative industries? We've seen too many examples, and we've experienced too many examples in our lives, but somehow we don't know that they are in the culture and creative industries. So, starting the key reasons, I have 5 findings about this. And the first one is the economic contribution. Because we all know that the countries, the size of the GDP, the size of the culture and creative industries in the GDP for a country, it's almost like 20%. So this is very huge. And that's why increasing the number of the creative entrepreneurs and startups, it affects directly to economy, job, and the other things. So, and the second one, culture preservation and expression. You know, as your country, I mean, in Greece, in Turkey, in France, in Europe, in global, we have very rich cultural heritage in our areas. So it is really important to carry this heritage with the digitalization and the technology to the next generation. So this culture and creative industries supports and contributes to this passageway for the next generation, and also protects, and it's a safe place for the cultural heritage side. And the other thing, social cohesion and the inclusion. These industries are directly linked with the life science, actually. And we already know that investors or the other parties or stakeholders are interested in the deep tech investments, and they think that this is the only science behind. But we have human science, life science in our lives, and where it affects us more than ever. So with the help of the culture and creativity, you can, as a person, you can involve the life better, and you can group up together and then support your creativity with them. And the other thing, education and the skill development. This one is a little bit generic, but it's important for each startup or each entrepreneur to be part of it, to be part of an entrepreneur education system, or even if we can increase the courses in university and other parties related with the entrepreneurship and some other verticals like culture and creative industries. You will hear this words too many times for me. And then this helps for them to choose the entrepreneurial side, and improve their entrepreneurial side, and then encouraging to become an entrepreneur. And then when we look at the relationship between the technology and the creative industries, we already know that the importance of the digital transformation. I mean, it started with the Industry 4.0 and its effects also CCIs. And with the help of the digital transformation, you can sustain your business model and you can develop new technology, and you can also expand your businesses throughout the countries. And the second one, democratization of the creativity with the help of the CCIs, like, for example, social media platforms or TikToks. After the TikToks, I mean, we know that too many creators, and we can reach out right now. Before the TikTok, and we don't have any platform that any individual can create a specific videos or create new challenges or something like that. That we had just YouTube, but you need to have some specific skills for the uploading a YouTube or editing a video. But by the TikTok and this advancement in the technology, you can create more easily, and you don't need to know anything about the video editing and etc. This is very interesting, and it's also I can say for the disruption and innovation, because right now in our global area, we need disruptors for each side. I mean, for sustainability, climate change, we're facing too many challenges, and that's why disruption and innovation, it's one thing that we can never give up about it. And the enhanced production and distribution with the help of the digitalization and the technology, as I mentioned before, that you can easily distribute your products, your services through the global networks. It's very easy, even than you thought. And data-driven insights and the personalization, it's more about, I mean, we already know the big importance of the big data and interpretation of the big data for the companies, and it's really critical because we need to understand consumer behaviors, because if you are a startup, first of all, you need to understand your customer very well, and second, you can develop and create a value for them. That's why this data is super important for you. Nope, sorry. No, it's correct, sorry. I think it skips to one. Yep. I would like to share more about technological creative start industries and the companies regarding this. Video streaming platforms before Netflix, I mean, I don't remember what we are doing, but probably we was renting the film and going to the movie theaters and then something like that. But right now we have Netflix, and then we can see whatever we want. And digital music platforms, Spotify is one of the best example of it. And how many of you watched the Spotify story on Netflix? But it's a really good story and interesting as an entrepreneurial journey. And the video sharing platforms, as I mentioned about the YouTube, but we have TikToks, Instagram, and you can create and share, and you can share your voice and wherever you are and whatever time. So video games and sports, we know that during the pandemic, the gaming it's emerged very increasingly, and then it's still under the emerging sectors. So it's interesting. So augmented reality and the virtual reality, we know the interior design, AR and VR applications as a startups, and good implementations for that. Digital publishing and ebooks, I mean, right now we are struggling to find time. I mean, this is the most precious thing for us. I think it's time. And even I can't find a time to read a book, but digital books or audiobooks, it helped me a lot for this. And the creative software and tools, so you may heard Canva or Adobe Illustrator. These are the good examples for it. So, sorry. Yep. And here is, I mentioned, but I would like to show some of them. And then I haven't mentioned about the Pulp AR. Pulp AR is the AR face recognition application. So it's basically recognize your face, and then apply the beauty and cosmetic sectors like lipstick and blush and other, etc. So Roblox, you heard them more before. So how can we stimulate this ecosystem and increase the investment? The important thing is the express and increase the awareness of the importance of the culture and creative industries. So maybe we can organize more this type of events. We can explain how these industries are part of our lives. And the second one is the government support. We already know that incentives, taxes, grants, and the other ways that there's lots of ways that government can support startups, and these are very important at the first stage, like seed stage or the pre-seed stage as a startup, because it fuels you and then contributes you to grow and then find next round investment. And the third one is the access to financing. Yes, it's really hard to access to finance sometimes because you need. It seems a little bit easy. I mean, we are listening to, we are hearing the good examples of startups that raise money like $3 million and etc. But when we look at the background, at the backstage of this rounds, it's very hard. I mean, you sometimes you need to meet more than 10 investors at the same time, manage the deal flow and the investment processes. It's like a parallel two processes. One time you should continue your daily business life, and then there is an investment process. It should go parallelly. And then fourth one is industry and investor collaboration. Industry collaborations, it's critical because you can find your first customers as an entrepreneur, or you can develop business together, and no matter you can find, and if you think that where can I find, and this type of events, it's a very good place to find yourself as a collaborations or customers, or you can co-create. I mean, co-creation is another thing that you should consider about it. And technology and innovation, I mentioned a lot of it, but as a policymakers or the other stakeholders should push the technology drivers or disruptors in this ecosystem. And other thing, capacity building and education. Again, I explained a little bit, but we should start this entrepreneurial classes at like high school or even the early age, because it's the matter of understanding the mindset of the entrepreneurial. It's really hard to learn. Not impossible, of course. We have already entrepreneurial spirit inside of it, but it's a little bit different from each other. But anyway, it's the best way to explain. And there is some good mobile games for the children to play and learn how to sell and buy something, and then just preparing their mind for the entrepreneurship. Collaboration and networking is super key. I mean, very important key for us, because networking is the basis of this ecosystem. I mean, I've been working for 7 years, and within the network, you can find your mentor, investor, stakeholder, and the customer, etc. And the last one is the impact measurement. The thing is, I mean, we already know about the importance of the sustainability, climate change, and impact of the startups. So if we can measure your impact, and if we can put something like measurable for you, it's really critical, and it helps you to stimulate and increase your capacity, let's say. So I will give the word to my colleague David and Pointer.
Thank you, Melisa. Good afternoon, everyone. So this is a good point. Melisa just mentioned networking, cooperation, collaboration, and this is everything that creative business investors want to do. Creative business investors, we're actually part of the Creative Business Network. Creative Business Network, 13 years in place, up to 80 countries every year send their winner, their national winner, creative business winner, to Copenhagen. This year, June 5th, is the international final, the Global Cup. And over these 13 years, Creative Business Network have managed to accumulate up to 3,000 startups, creative industry startups, and up to 300 investors interested in the creative industries. What do we do with this network? Creative business investors. We would like them to actually talk to each other. The whole success of a network is, and for startups, is you talk. You talk to your other startups, you talk to investors, you talk to mentors, you explain your idea, they challenge your idea, they make you improve your idea. Creative business investors is a community where we bring together, on the one side, all the entrepreneurs and their startups, and on the other side, investors, all types of investors. Investors who want to learn about the creative industries, investors who are already deep in the creative industries. The startups will learn from each other, the investors will learn from each other. That's creative business investors. And at one point, we're going to match startups that are ready to go and present themselves and expose their idea to investors. That is the role of creative business investors. You generate, you accumulate, you coach, you upskill startups, and on the other side, you have the investors talking to each other and looking at the startups that we have in our pool. I have to catch up 15 minutes from Melisa. So, let's quickly go over this. We're creating a hub. And the whole idea of creative business investors, it's a hub. Today, Creative Business Network is actually already a community. You just go and you can join the community, it's free. Creative Business Investor is part of the Creative Business Network community, and we're going to be charging. We're going to be charging because we believe that we can actually create value for the startups, for the entrepreneurs, and for the investors. The fee is really easy, 10 euros. You're an entrepreneur, 10 euros per year, but you join the community. The minute you're in the community, you get access to all the services from the community. Because you're now part of an association, you have a membership, and membership actually brings privilege. You can access the mentors, you can access all other 3,000 startups and entrepreneurs. Exchange your ideas, learn from them. We're talking about entrepreneurs from up to 80 countries. Okay? On the other side, our 300 investors, we want also them to expand. We also want them to talk to each other, share their knowledge of the startups, share their knowledge of the industry, share their insights. Because one of the biggest problems today for the creative industries is actually to get investors, to get new investors involved in the creative industries. So you have to have the investors in place, start coaching their peers who don't know about the creative industries. So, two sets, entrepreneurs, investors. We bring them together, and once you're part of the membership, our only objective is actually to work for our members. Over time, we actually want to add services. Today, we will have the community, you can exchange, we will have events, a 12-month rolling set of events like this. You can get access, you can, if you are a startup, later on today, we have a startup that will be explaining their journey. This is a challenge for a startup to come up stage and actually explain what it is that they want to bring to the industry. Okay? And you can do this through Creative Business Investors, because we have the links with all the different conferences in Europe and around the world. Again, through the Creative Business Network. How do we want to grow? We actually see it in 3 stages. First of all, we just want to sit and establish our community. That's why we're doing it. For the next 6 months, you get for free. You try out the community. You don't even have to pay the 10 euros. And in 6 months' time, if you're happy with the events, with the insights, with the information, the original information you get, you pay your membership, 10 euros per year as an entrepreneur. And just a little teaser on this, once you're set up today at 10 euros, no matter how much our membership increases, you're set at the 10 euros as an entrepreneur forever, as long as you stay part of the community. As I mentioned, we're part of the Creative Business Network, and we want to leverage on it. But once we actually establish the community, the investor community, startups, entrepreneurs, investors, and investment firms, we actually want to become fully standalone and support the Creative Business Network with an output for all the startups that win the cup. What is our first step going to be? Today, every year, we select through the Creative Business Network Global Cup. There's a winner. There's an international winner. We want to select the top of these winners, upskill them, and present them when they're ready, when we've coached them on their business plan, on their pitches, on their business model. Once they're ready, we want to present them to pre-selected investors. We've already started. We've already presented 5 startups to selected investors, and their feedback is, yes, these startups were ready. They were prepared. When they pitched to us, they knew what they were talking, they knew how to answer, and the investors didn't waste their time in the 15 minutes that we had them in front of the startups. But to get there, join the community, get mentoring, talk to each other, improve your business plan, improve your idea. Okay? That's the beginning. And over time, as I mentioned, we want to add services that the community is asking us to add. So not the services that we want, the services that the startups, entrepreneurs, investors want us to provide. So if you want to join the community, now's the time, because you get 6 months for free. And then you can always decide to leave if you don't like it. But we want to build upon it and make it a success, just like Creative Business Cup is a success every year. If you have any questions. Good.
Thank you so much, David. And we will continue. I mean, we mentioned about investment, and now we have Anthology Ventures CEO Argyris Spyridis, and he will share his venture journey and then investment approach. So, stage is yours.
Well, hello. I'll wait for my slides to go up. It's mostly notes, not exactly a presentation, but I think it will help us go through and follow my talk for the next few minutes. So my name is Argyris Spyridis, and I move a lot, so I hope it won't bother you. I am the CEO and also managing partner of Anthology Ventures and Anthology Management. Anthology Ventures is an incubator for both business angels and startups. We try to incubate both together. We believe that they both belong in the same body, so you shouldn't grow just one body and leave the other one untouched. You won't be able to walk straight at the end. So this is the philosophy of Anthology Ventures. We operate in northeastern and southeastern Europe and the Mediterranean area. And we are sector agnostic. On the other hand, Anthology Management is an ecosystem builder. We do a lot of trainings and strategy making for different players of developing ecosystems, mainly in the southeastern and northeastern Europe. Besides the besides our involvement with startups, we're also very involved with EU-funded programs in the Horizon or under the Horizon and Erasmus frameworks. And, sorry, messing up with my clicker here. And let me go to the juice, because you didn't come here just to hear the company profile of what we do. When I was invited to talk today about the creative economy, about the creative industry, first I asked myself, am I a specialist? Because I don't believe I am. I don't believe I have, let's say, the depth of the expertise to talk safely for all the creative economy and all the culture that is a very important ingredient in the creative economy. And when we say creative economy, I want you to keep two numbers. It's a very, very big thing. In 2020, that was the end of the pandemic. That was the last, let's say, report that I found some valid information. They measured around 500 million euros in products and, wait, 1.1 trillion in services, US dollars, that is. So you can understand that is a shift towards services when we talk about the creative economy worldwide, and it's a big. Now, the other thing that I was trying to understand, and I still have a struggle with, is what do we mean when we say creative economy and creative business, and how can an investor understand that? What is creative? What is culture? And how those things play along, and how they mingle with technology and startups. Because if I ask any of you, most probably will give me a different interpretation of what creative startups are. Some of us will think that creative startups are the ones that are focused with arts and maybe advertising, and maybe you're going to think of a crazy painter with some technological app. Some of you might say it's also gaming, right? So, and this is a very huge, it's a huge industry. Personally, I had the opportunity to be involved with quite a lot of different concepts, different projects. I can recall startups, lifestyle startups, of a few founders that wanted to start a theatrical lab in their hometown. It's a noble cause. I can recall other startups, like one spin-off from Aristotle University, Hirartech, that is trying to create, has developed a system that assesses hearing impairment with the help of music, and also try to provide a better fitting for your hearing implants and hearing aids, as well as better training of your brain, because we listen with the brain and not with our ears. I can recall other startups that like AdWork that is focusing on virtual product placement, and so many more. So if you ask me, I'm very confused when I hear the word creative economy and creative and cultural startups, which is fine. And that because with the help of technology and with the diffusion and the dilution of different processes, many of those things that had very, very clear boundaries in the past do not have today. So we're talking in augmented terms when we talk about this concept, which is good, but also very, very challenging. Sorry. So there are quite a lot of challenges, and this is a collection from a UN report that this sector faces, is the increased involvement of authorities and institutions. We need more of those. And definitely the mobilizing of funding. You're not going to go far without fuel. We cannot understand that, and especially in the very early stages. This is where funding, frameworks, grants, and of course business angels can be very, very helpful with. The dissemination of official data on the creative economy is also very important, because we can understand better about the parameters that make this economy live and growing. Inclusive policies targeting the creative industries, joint activities, especially in developing economies, and of course the updating of intellectual property laws are key challenges that today the creative economy is facing, and also we as angel investors also face in a direct or indirect way when we deal with startup projects or any entrepreneurial scheme under this regime. So one of the key things that creative and cultural startups can claim or be more proud of, at least proportionally, because we said it's very, very big range, is their involvement with culture and impact that they have in the society and the environment in many different aspects of life. So what is important for an investor that deals with a creative startup is to assess impact. To assess the impact that particular startup has over society or whatever, towards whatever goal it has set and claims that will pursue. So we look at different impact metrics, and we also want to understand what is the baseline of assessment to progress baseline to measure progress of that startup over time, especially when this progress is also related with the key metrics that they set or claim they will pursue. Since most of us are not so relevant with all business sectors around, I mean, how many sectors can you know? Well, it's really impossible. We always look for help from external advisors, okay? People who are brighter and know well a sector or a specific skill set or needs of a market that the creative cultural industry startup is targeting. So they know better. We need their help a lot. So another thing that we also want is to use recognized frameworks and standards like the SDGs of the United Nations to understand how a startup that is classified under the creative industry attacks those goals, okay, and tries to pursue and where it belongs. This is a very, very important thing and also very well connected when you pursue public grants. Sorry. So another thing that, and I will finish, I'll finish with this and I'll try to keep some space for a talk, is to find the right way of commercialization. Like any product, any business, any project, the pathway to commercialization is not just tricky, but it's not only one thing. For an example, if you are a spin-off of a university or try to become one, you know, creating a startup is not the only way to sell your products. And most probably it's not the right way to sell your products because not all startup founders, especially some of them that are more involved with culture and science in an academic way, are not necessarily best suited for it. And this is a common denominator that we see in many universities, especially in countries like mine, let's say here in Greece, where it's very, very hard for university professors who might be founders to leave their day job and start, you know, dealing with their startup career. But what happens with the product development? What happens with all the research? What happens with all the dreams and all the pitching? So this is a very, very important element that we want to assess. So we ask ourselves, are the founders that are pitching before us good entrepreneurial material? Maybe not. But does that mean that the object, the subject of their research, what they pursue is not necessarily good because they are not? Maybe it is. So we have to find the appropriate method, the appropriate pathway, and understand if this is subject also for funding of a different kind of financing. So matching the founder's needs and the founder's character along with the type of the product, how scalable or not it is, because as you know, probably all angel investors love scalability, but not all products are scalable. And what does that mean? That products that are not scalable do not worth investment? Maybe not. Because I can tell you that non-scalable products that, or non-scalable businesses that belong in the broader SME world have more chances to succeed than the average startup. So what does that tell us? So this is really important, but also the mode of work. So we need to understand what kind of a person and what kind of mentality and what kind of mode of work the founders who belong in such a startup apply in their day routine when they pursue their product. This is a very, very common challenge. Because the way they live, the way they imagine, the way they envision, I'm talking about visionary people most of the times, is not necessarily very well synchronized with the needs of the startup. So put all those things together in one recipe and try to find what? A solution. Believe me, it's a very complex equation to compensate the needs of a founder from a culturally based startup in the creative industry and the needs of commercialization. It's a very, very tough challenge. Now, tough does not necessarily mean impossible, but it is tough. So for an investor's point of view, it's also important for us to have an affinity with culture, to have an affinity with creativity, as to be able to understand, A, who we're talking with, what their needs and how they think, but also understand the market better and understand what would be the best scenario for the case that we evaluate every time. It's a difficult thing, it's not easy, but it is also a growing sector with all these convergences bigger than ever. I told you the numbers before, but it's also challenged by new things that, well, that are not necessarily so new, let's say, we never heard of that before, but they're now actually happening. I'm talking about the presence of AI in our life that we'll be soon seeing more, where the boundaries between what is art and what is not are going to be challenged, along with many other objects of creative work. Well, that's about it for me. I hope I didn't bore you to death, and I'm open for questions. Yes. Can you take my mic? I'll take another one.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Hashim Hussein. I'm the CEO of the World Entrepreneurs Investment Forum, and I'm also the president of the Arab International Center for Entrepreneurship. I was very delighted to listen to you. What I've been saying is music to my ears. But for us, when we talk about creativity, it is linked to entrepreneurship. Any startup project started by an entrepreneur, it has to be with creative, not only for culture. Culture is good. And this is more and more where we're seeing a lot of governments, international organizations like mine, UNIDO, which I have seen also you're saying how we can cope with international organizations. But one of the main problems, which I'm in this field for more than 30 years, it is the education system, okay? The education system, if I'm talking about developing countries as well as industrialized countries, it was the biggest taboo and a problem for creativity and innovation. Till today, you know, we went to school since, I don't know, we were 4 or 5 or 6. We went to primary, secondary, university, just learning whatever the teacher give us, then we graduate from university, then we're looking for a job. So education itself was not allowing, you know, the classical innovation was not allowing to boost innovation and entrepreneurship. If you talk about history, for example, if I talk about the Arab region and the science which they had in medicine, in algorithm, in nature, it was not coming from school. It was coming from life skills and, of course, a lot of salons to provide you information and so on. So always when I have been looking into how things, you know, before 500 to 600 years and how is it today, especially if you look into developing countries where education came from the colonials, either British or French or whatever. So until today, we are suffering from that kind of education. So if we are talking, again, about creativity because it is one of the main pillars for startup and growth in any field you're talking about. We have to go back to education, not at the universities, but at elementary and secondary schools. Thank you.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And not for the sake of agreeing, but because there is lots of truth in what you just said. I can recall also the words of Sir Ken Robinson that passed away, that also supported that, about that, how much we need creativity and how much the modern, let's say, academic education system is built on the principles of old school industrialization. We're talking about production lines. So yes, we have this challenge, and I really don't know how, if we had a Da Vinci today, what would happen to him? I mean, would he start a startup? Would he be a successful scientist? Would he be that pioneering as he was back then? Undoubtedly. Creativity, and creativity as also not just a skill, but also as an element.
And as a talent.
Or as a talent also that fuels entrepreneurship is critically important. Unfortunately, many times creativity is stigmatized, or with what? With one relationship that when we have this preoccupation, this stereotype, when we talk about creativity, we think about arts or only. And who is an artist? Someone who's not necessarily making lots of money, unless he's dead. So this is, yeah. So we have to fight lots of stereotypes, but we also fight a lot against the academic, the education systems that are built in around very old notions that definitely do not support the needs of today's world.
Hello, my name is Rasmus from CBN, and I would like to know from an investor point of view, I grew up with Volvo, you know, this very good Swedish big car that was stable, and it was sold for $1.8 billion to the Chinese. And 2 years ago, Peppa Pig, a cartoon pig, was sold for $4 billion US. Why would an investor spend twice as much on a cartoon pig than on a really sturdy Swedish car?
Well, I don't know. Apparently, there are no statistics about what you say, and this is a problem. Because if there were analytics and forecasting models that would suggest that this, object would probably generate more value and frictionless, we're probably going to be, following that paradigm. But unfortunately, the world is not built and is not served with this kind of analytics. So again, it's a matter of how we grow, what kind of education, what kind of data we are informed and grow with. I think I have to, right, it's time. They told me it's time. They made a signal before. I'm not trying to break. So again, thank you very much. Thank you, Melisa, for having me here. It was a pleasure. Thank you, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much for your speech and sharing experiences with us. And our next session is about promoting and unleashing creative entrepreneurs, the orange economy. I would like to invite Dr. Hussein Hashim to the stage. He is the CEO of the World Entrepreneurs Investment Forum, ITPO-UNIDO Bahrain, and the stage is yours. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I have a speech which have some figures which I'm going to highlight. Of course, it gives me a very great pleasure to be here to talk about creative industries and to talk about innovation and entrepreneurship. I was highly pleased to hear, the presentation because more and more we define innovation and creativity as the main pillars for entrepreneurship. You know, in the year 2000, we started with ESCWA. ESCWA is the Economic and Social Commission for West Asia. It's part of the UN Economic and Social Council, to look into the problem and the issues facing startups. At that time, we didn't call it startup. We call it small and medium enterprises. And then we started to bring even the concept of entrepreneurship in the Arab countries. To tell you the truth, my background as an investment expert, this is what I have been doing within my organization, UNIDO, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, which we mainly work on how we do joint venture between entrepreneurs from developing countries from industrialized to developing countries, or in between investors from industrialized countries. I have been honored to head the UNIDO Investment and Technology Promotion Office in 1996. It is a network of offices. We used to have an office here in Greece some time back, but now we have an office in Japan, an office in South Korea, an office in Russia, an office in China, Italy, and Germany. So my role was in between, because Bahrain is still a developing country. It is an oil-producing country, but still it is a developing country. So we managed to bring investors from different parts of the world, but we faced a big problem of finding local investors. Today we call them entrepreneurs, you know, either at the startup or the growth level. Then we started to look into research and collect data and to see what is the problem. We realized the problem that we have no support institutions, financial or non-financial, to bring and breed local startups, so that to develop the cycle of investment promotion from a foreign investor to a local investor to develop a joint venture. So when we started to look into this, we realized there is a problem of culture, you know, which comes from education. That though we all know in the past, especially if I talk about the Arab region, which it is the base of different civilizations, you know, from the Babylonians, from the Phoenicians, from the Pharaohs, from the Nubians, you know, those are all being traders and expanding and working in bringing businesses through trade and heritage. Then when education came, I mean classic education, I mean schools education, then universities, everything have changed. It was very difficult to bring an entrepreneur. Yes, there were commerciants, there were traders, you know, just buying and selling, but not developing small or small businesses to grow. Of course, now it's very diversified. We talk about digitalization today, we talk about creative economy, you know, but if we talk about 20, 25 years, this was not there. Not only in the Arab region, worldwide, even in industrialized countries, you know. I went to school in the US. At that time, there was nothing about entrepreneurship, nothing. I studied economy there, you know. There was nothing about entrepreneurship. Today, the whole international system and economists talk about entrepreneurship and startups. Even someone like Bill Gates, he said, I'm not an investor, I'm an entrepreneur. Why? Because he identified himself that he's creative in the business he's doing. Today, within the UN organizations or system, we talk about that the revenue of creative economy, it exceeds $2 trillion, okay? And more than 50 million jobs today, and is growing when we talk about the creative economy. This have led the UN and the UN organization to focus more on creativity, and even to bring a sector called the orange economy. Like we have the green economy and the blue economy. Now we have a sector defined within the UN called the orange economy, where creativity and creative economy comes under that. And then, of course, there are other subsectors. For me, when we talk about creative economy, yes, part of it is part of linking it to the culture. That's okay. But then there are now, we talk about digitalization, we talk about video gaming, we talk about artificial intelligence, then we can go to jewelry, we can go to fashion, we can go even to art. And this is why today we specify them, and we started 3-4 years back to call them artpreneur. And now it's becoming, I'm very proud that we have nominated, or we brought that title. Now even the World Bank talks about an artpreneur. And the definition, where we have seen the definition of creative entrepreneur, immediately it makes you to think about how can you bring it to what we call artpreneurs. I have attended the pitching and have attended the conference, and I was part of the jury of the Creative Cup in Denmark. And I would like to say how this idea and how this concept now is evolving worldwide. Even myself, being in the field of entrepreneurship, I became an advocate of creativity. From what I have seen through my colleague and friend Rasmus, that how we can bring creativity, how we can boost creativity to be part of the skills development of a startup entrepreneur. So more and more this is growing. I hope next year we're going to organize the World Entrepreneurs Investment Forum, which is the largest and the only forum under the UN umbrella to bring best practices and to bring people like you, experts and entrepreneurs, R&Ds, universities, NGO, financial institution, Chamber of Commerce and Industry, government authorities, dealing with micro and small businesses. So this is our community. We organize this under the UN umbrella every 2 years in Bahrain, and the year between it could be in a host country. We started this in 2015. Last year was in Dubai Expo. Next year is going to be in Bahrain. And I assure you we're going to have one of the main panels is going to be on creativity again, and how we define entrepreneurs with creativity. Also, we will have a pitching session. We are also in close collaboration with the World Business Angel Forums, which is based in Istanbul. My friend, Mr. Bypass Gurtas, which I will, because I'm a founding member and I'm a board member of the World Business Forum, will ensure also to include one of the sectors, creative entrepreneurs. Me being in Bahrain, in the region, Bahrain is considered as the financial hub for the Arab region, where most of the investment and commercial international banks are headquartered in Bahrain. Also, I'm in the region where there is a number of developmental financial institutions, like the Arab Bank for Economic Development of Africa, the Islamic Development Bank, which is the largest second development bank after the World Bank. Their capital is about $180 billion. It's mainly to support member states, 56 member states, in their economic development, and entrepreneurial development is one of their main strategies and pillars for 2030. We have also the Kuwait Development Fund, the Saudi Development Fund, the Arab Bank for Economic Development for the Arab region. So, because access to finance and sustainable finance, it is an important setup for startups. Me being in the UN, and I'm part of the UN community, and being close to entrepreneurs, private sector, we are bringing the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, to be part of the community of entrepreneurship. This is why our World Entrepreneurs Investment Forum, where it started in 2015. In 2017, we have put the logo for the WEF, achieving the SDGs through innovation and entrepreneurship. This is giving a big boost for the UN to be part of the entrepreneurship. Coming in July, or end of July, for the preparation of the General Assembly, the 78th General Assembly of the UN, which will take place in New York in September, we are going to have a half-day seminar for preparation, and it's going to be titled sustainable financial inclusion. Why we're doing this big circle? Because one of the important elements for startup is financial inclusion, is how they can access to finance. And today, it is not only the classical finance, we call it smart finance, which include crowdfunding, business angels, and of course, venture capital, and we're bringing other kind also of finance from communities. And we are bringing entrepreneur, and we're letting the community to invest on the entrepreneur. And I think we can also do this with creative entrepreneurs. Not only looking into the classical finance, but we look into other entrepreneurs where they will invest on that entrepreneur. Because an entrepreneur will understand better an entrepreneurial enterprise. And in creative entrepreneurs, you need this kind of investment. So what I can do and what I can promise, Mr. Rasmus and the team here, we will work in developing this mechanism of access to finance for creative entrepreneurs within the UN system, but within also the financial institutions, developmental or commercial. I'm always associated with seminars, conferences, exhibitions on creative economy, which added to our experience in bringing more and more support to entrepreneurs. Well, there is a lot I can speak about when we talk about this. But we are available, I think, through the connectivity and the network and the community of the Creative Cup. We can all invite you to be part of our community. We'd like to thank again the organizers, and especially Melisa. I've been bothering her from the morning because this is a huge place. So congratulations, and I think we can do more and more. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So our next session is a panel for Creative Business Cluster. I would like to invite the speakers, a Creative Director and Partner at MALVI, Panos Voulgaris, CEO, Tetragon CEO, Giotis, Ioannidis, and the Chief Communication Officer of MSCOMM, John Papadimitriou. We would like to see you on the stage. Thank you. Okay. So, hi. Welcome.
ξεκινήσουμε. Θέλετε. Okay, hi, welcome in another discussion panel. My name is Papadimitriou. I'm head of communications in MSCOMM. I would like to welcome Mr. Giotis Ioannidis, CEO of Tetragon, and Mr. Panos Voulgaris, creative director of MALVI. Our topic today is very, very interesting. We're going to discuss about the innovative design cluster that has been established here in Thessaloniki. Mr. Ioannidis is going to describe a little bit the vision of the cluster, its mission, and what are the services and the innovative products that the cluster is going to deliver. And then I am going to present the methodology that we followed about a digital platform that we are nowadays preparing. And Panos will describe us and show us some things regarding the design of the platform. So, Mr. Ioannidis, what is the innovative design cluster?
Ακούγομαι?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, but I prefer to speak in Greek language. Okay. The most of us are Greek, so sorry for the others that they cannot understand everything that I say.
I'll try my best to simultaneously translate if I can. I've never done that in the past, but I'll try.
Άρα μιλάω εγώ. Λοιπόν, δημιουργήσαμε πριν 3 χρόνια περίπου η Tetragon σαν συντονίστρια εταιρεία και η Μητροπολιτική Αναπτυξιακή του Δήμου Θεσσαλονίκης της Θεσσαλονίκης στην πρόσκληση της Γενικής Γραμματείας Έρευνας και Καινοτομίας για τους συνεργατικούς σχηματισμούς, τα κλάστερ τα λεγόμενα, και η δική μας πρόταση που πέρασε ήταν η δημιουργία του Innovation Design Cluster. 11 εταιρείες, οι 7 περίπου 8 από Θεσσαλονίκη, οι 3 από Αθήνα, και γύρω μας με διάφορες μορφές υπεργολαβικής σχέσης, γιατί οι φορείς με υπόσταση είτε ερευνητικό κέντρο σαν το ΕΚΕΤΑ ή η Διεθνής Έκθεση Θεσσαλονίκης, ο Δήμος, η Περιφέρεια, το Πανεπιστήμιο, το ΑΠΙΘΙΤΑ ή άλλες μικρότερες οντότητες σαν εταιρείες δεν θα μπορούσαν να συμμετάσχουν στην πρόσκληση αυτή σαν partners του όλου σχήματος και είναι με διάφορες σχέσεις κοντά μας, δίπλα μας και στην εξέλιξή του. Τι ήταν...
The general idea, I'll try to translate the best as I can, is that this cluster is created in order to promote the innovative aspects of it's built through, obviously managed through Tetragon and built through different companies and sectors and different organizations and local and national organizations regarding the innovative aspects of design. It is part of a European Union program, and as such, it has specific deliverables that we're going to be discussing today as well.
Οπότε, το συγκεκριμένο πρόγραμμα και το κλάστερ, η λογική του ήταν για την πόλη της Θεσσαλονίκης και για την περιφέρεια της Κεντρικής Μακεδονίας, για το δημιουργικό τομέα που αγκαλιάζει το design ή ο δημιουργικός σχεδιασμός, ας το πούμε γενικότερα, από την αρχιτεκτονική και εταιρείες οι οποίες είναι οι πρόσωπα, ασχολούνται με την αρχιτεκτονική, μέχρι το graphic design, μέχρι τις νέες τεχνολογίες, τις ψηφιακές, για οτιδήποτε άπτεται της δημιουργικής βιομηχανίας. Άρα εταιρείες πληροφορικής με εταιρείες design, οι οποίες μπορούν και είναι σε διάφορους τομείς και χώρους. Δημιουργήσαμε το συγκεκριμένο Cluster, Innovation Design Cluster, γιατί προσπαθούμε στην πόλη μας αλλά και ευρύτερα, οι δημιουργικές οντότητες ή εταιρείες ή η βιομηχανία όλου αυτού του χώρου να αποκτήσουν μια συνεργατική λογική και υπόσταση, τα συγκεκριμένα παραδοτέα του προγράμματος αυτού θα κινηθούν για την πόλη της Θεσσαλονίκης σε 2 επίπεδα, μικρή κλίμακα διαμορφώνοντας την εικόνα της πόλης και το branding της, μαζί με μια μεγαλύτερη κλίμακα σε στοιχεία αστικού εξοπλισμού, όπου ενδεικτικές λύσεις μαζί με ψηφιακές τεχνολογίες και πλατφόρμες που μπορούν για όλον αυτό το χώρο να αποτελέσουν εργαλεία προσέγγισης, αλλά μετά και εξωστρέφειας όλων αυτών, όχι μόνο των εταιριών που λέω ξανά, δημιουργήσαμε το κλάστερ, αλλά ευρύτερα η απήχησή του να κατευθυνθεί σε όλους αυτούς τους τομείς, σε όλες αυτές τις εταιρείες ή τους νέους κυρίους ανθρώπους και τις νέες εταιρείες, οι οποίες δεν έχουν τη δυνατότητα από μόνοι τους να κάνουν κυρίως τις ενέργειες εξωστρέφειας. Αυτή η πλατφόρμα, αυτός ο συνεργατικός σχηματισμός, αυτό το στόχο έχει. Να τους φέρει μαζί, να συνδιαμορφώσουν προϊόντα, να οργανώσουν ενέργειες και εξωστρέφειας, το ξαναλέω, για να μπορέσει να δημιουργηθεί στην πόλη, στη Κεντρική Μακεδονία, μια ομπρέλα σε αυτό το τομέα. Το design, το σχεδιασμό που έρχεται σε μια σειρά τομείς, σε ένα σωρό πεδία και είναι αναγκαίο πια όλα αυτά να αποκτήσουν λογική συνσχεδιασμού, συνεργασίας.
So the idea is to bring together a group of companies and organizations from the northern Greece, from central Macedonia, from Thessaloniki, in order to help them produce together, in order to help them collaborate, and that's the main idea of the cluster. Bring companies together to produce products or services in 2 main sectors. One is the small scale, for the city or for the environment, including its branding and the idea about how a city can utilize such services, and in the bigger scale, helping organizations as well as teams, new talent, obviously design-based companies, people who are willing to work in this industry, and help them create an outward-facing idea about how to properly collaborate and bring together companies in order to be able to accomplish much larger goals.
Okay, Giotis, thank you for sharing the vision and the mission of the cluster. Panos, thank you for the translation. I will come to you. Can you explain us briefly what is this digital platform for designers, which is one of the products that actually the cluster is running right now?
Sure. So the digital platform that is being developed is one of the main products of the innovative design cluster. The idea behind it is to bring together creators, designers from every field, as Giotis mentioned, from industrial design to architecture to interior design, graphic design, whatever field has or is built around design. And the idea is to help them provide information about what they do, their projects, and also provide the specific tools that would help them collaborate with on different projects with different firms or organizations. So the platform is basically, at its core, is a portfolio-based platform. So users or companies or designers can set up their profile and showcase their products, showcase their services, showcase their design or what it is they have done in the past. And from there on, around that core function are several tools that are being developed, including the way to create job listings and be able to take advantage of that whole field of designers that are available, or even for designers to collaborate amongst themselves on projects, and as well as other useful tools such as an innovative logo comparison tool that is really useful, which is going to search through databases and provide information on what you're designing, so you can have a better understanding of on specific characteristics of a logo, such as its shape or its color, or the overall feel of it matches what you're designing, so you can avoid things like trademarking problems that might occur and stuff like that, which is an important step of the research process that a designer should be doing in that aspect. So that's one of the things in terms of the graphic design, which would take advantage of such technologies. Another thing would be collaborative tools or training tools which would benefit the community as a whole, like continuous learning, the ability to upload specific subjects or lectures or lessons or whatever that might be, and then having that in a platform as a whole and be able to take advantage of all that information, all those tools.
Okay, thank you. As MSCOMM, we did a thorough research, qualitative and quantitative, to understand what are those specifications that this new platform for the Greek designers should have in order to be effective, at least. So I would like to share with you three conclusions that were quite impressive of the combination of the two research. The first one is that over the 95% of the users, they had only one demand, which was transparency. What they were demanding, what they were asking for, was that the algorithm that is behind the platform to be just say democratic, to be transparent, to understand why the project of one designer is number one, why the project of another designer has more impressions or likes. They would like to understand how this platform works. So everything was matter of transparency. The second one is that the majority of them, they would like to be free because they are used to, they are just say addicted to platforms that they have free services. And the third one is that it was quite impressive for the Greek standards that almost 98% of designers and people from the creative industries are using digital platforms. So the main conclusion of our research was that how we are going to make our platform transparent in order to gain the trust of the users. Panos, as far as I know, you have something to show, you have something to present, right?
Yes, we have some of the elements of the process of designing a platform. So I'm going to go ahead. It is in Greek, but design is a bit universal, so I don't think there will be an issue there. As Ioannis mentioned, the idea is that through the research that has been done in phase one, then we would move the research and analysis of the user experience and what it needs to be done in the first stage of the process, moving on to the design stage of the process as the second stage, and then wrapping it up with the development stage. So it's a pretty standard process, but this involves a lot of design elements and a lot of different tools to be developed, which need to be coherent in terms of how they look and how they feel when a user actually navigates through them. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about all these steps. They're pretty straightforward as to how it's done. It's a standard process of developing a specific tool. So, excuse me. So, starting off with the, as you can see here, this pixelated view of what might be a design process and how a design process starts through testing, wireframing, a lot of different screens, figuring out what works, what doesn't. This is the standard process of being able to understand how the analysis steps and how the wireframing provides the information and educates that information towards what the design elements of the platform should be. And you get down to the aspects that are more useful about what fields you should be using, and the idea about how a project is presented, what are the prerequisites, like if you have like a banner image, or if you have like specific fields that the designers or the companies needs to fill in. Then we take as a given the fact that we had, like as an innovative design cluster, there is an identity present. It's designed by Slab design agency. So we are already using some of the assets in order to be able to bring a more coherent look to it. And we have like the specific typography and the looks and the idea about how everything comes together. So we kind of delved into that, and we figured out how we would be able to expand on these elements and create specific things that should be used throughout the platform, going on to create different elements for different functions, such as featured projects, or specific states of specific elements, and bring that together in a unified grid in order to be able to create a more specific approach. This is just one of the examples of what needs to be designed. This is a very simple design element. It's like the product. I'm not sure if you can see that correctly, but it's the company profile, a designer profile, but also that onto itself has different aspects, whether it's displayed on different sections of the website that might demand different information. If it's, for example, in the job listings, it might demand the location, whereas if it's in the project listings, it might demand the type of work that the specific designer does. So we need to iterate and have different iterations of the same element, but it can't be static. It needs to be dynamic, and then it needs to be expressed through the different sections of the platform. And as you can see, this is how it starts to come together in terms of what it means to have, for example, a project card with information about likes and views and all that information that might be useful for a user exploring the website, and going down to the more nitty and gritty stuff as to what information you need when you're uploading a logo, and how you're going to feel safe if you're uploading a logo that needs to be saved or deleted, and all these aspects of having your work valued and having your work understood in terms of your rights when you're uploading something, specifically when we're talking about a non-published logo yet, which is part of the logo comparison aspect of it. Right now we're talking about different states and different pages. We're at this stage of the project. It has gone into development, and expecting to have the early demos for internal usage and access by the end of summer or early September. And I think that's all for my part.
Okay, thank you a lot for your presentation. Giotis, do you want to add something?
Ξαναλέω ότι στόχος του συγκεκριμένου κλάστερ δεν είναι να τελειώσει απλά σε αυτά τα 2 χρόνια περίπου τη δική του αποστολή, τα δικά του παραδοτέα, και να μείνουμε λοιπόν οι 11 εταιρείες μαζί με τη Μητροπολιτική Αναπτυξιακή της Θεσσαλονίκης ικανοποιημένοι ότι απορροφήσαμε αυτό το περίπου 800 εκατομμύριο και τέλειωσε και ευχαριστηθήκαμε όλοι γιατί κάναμε ακόμη μία δουλειά. Το συγκεκριμένο κλάστερ, γιατί και η ίδια του υπόσταση με τα άλλα περίπου 30 κλάστερ, ή τουλάχιστον ο σκοπός του είναι να δημιουργήσει σε δεύτερο χρόνο οντότητες με όποια μορφή εταιρικής οντότητας, ενδεχόμενα και εδώ συζητιέται λοιπόν, και προβληματιζόμαστε αν λοιπόν γίνει μια ανώνυμη εταιρεία, για να μπορέσει όμως δηλαδή όχι μόνο αυτές οι 11 εταιρείες, μαζί με τους υπόλοιπους 16 φορείς οι εταιρείες που μπορούν πλέον να συμμετάσχουν σε αυτή την οντότητα τη νομική, να καταφέρει να υπάρξει σε δεύτερο χρόνο, να απορροφήσει άλλα ερευνητικά προγράμματα, αλλά να μπει στην αγορά, να αγκαλιάσει λοιπόν όλο το οικοσύστημα των δημιουργικών βιομηχανιών ή όσους τουλάχιστον ενδιαφέρονται να συμμετάσχουν σε αυτό εδώ το εγχείρημα. Να μπορέσει λοιπόν επίσης να γίνει μια πλατφόρμα για εξωστρέφεια της δημιουργικής ταυτότητας της πόλης μαζί με τις εταιρείες, μαζί με τους ανθρώπους, της χώρας κιόλας. Δεν υπάρχει άλλο Innovative Design Cluster τουλάχιστον μέχρι στιγμής, είτε από τις προσκλήσεις αυτές της Γενικής Γραμματείας Έρευνας ή από προηγούμενους συνεργατικούς σχηματισμούς που υπήρχαν στη χώρα. Πολλαπλάσιοι βέβαια σε αριθμό, τώρα έχουν μείνει ένας πολύ μικρός αριθμός. Αυτό που πάσχει λοιπόν η χώρα στη συνεργασία μεταξύ εταιριών, στην συνεργασία μεταξύ δημιουργικών ανθρώπων ή δημιουργικών υποστάσεων με την όποια του μορφή, να γίνει ακόμη και τη μορφή ενός hub, το είπατε προηγουμένως δηλαδή κιόλας ο Γιάννης, για να μπορεί λοιπόν με έδρα τη Θεσσαλονίκη, αλλά όχι οντότητα και στόχο τη Θεσσαλονίκη και την περιφέρεια της Μακεδονίας, να αποτελέσει και για την εξωστρέφεια όλου αυτού του δημιουργικού τομέα σε δεύτερο χρόνο στην υπόστασή του σε συνέργειες και στο εξωτερικό και στη συνολική του και ουσιαστική εξωστρέφεια. Αυτός είναι ο στόχος και θα κληθούν και οι φορείς της πόλης ή της περιοχής να αγκαλιάσουν, αν το θέλουν, δική τους είναι στην ουσία ευθύνη να υποθάλπτουν, να δημιουργούν και στο τέλος δηλαδή να μεριμνούν για αυτά τα εγχειρήματα για τη δεύτερη μέρα. Εκεί είναι το στίχημα, εκεί είναι στην ουσία δηλαδή και ο στόχος και το διακύβευμα πραγμάτωσής τους. Αλλιώς αποτυχαίνουμε και παίρνουμε ακόμη ένα ερευνητικό πρόγραμμα ή εταιρείες ή άλλοι φορείς και τελειώνουμε στα όρια της παράδοσής τους και τίποτα άλλο δεν υπάρχει για δεύτερη μέρα. Σας ευχαριστώ.
So the goal here is to actually be able to look towards the future of the cluster rather than finishing the research program and being done with it. The companies would be happy, but the idea is to be able to bring on an outward-facing aspect of design based in Thessaloniki and being able to create a different entity going forward in order to be able to bring together design as an idea as a whole, being able to collaborate with different organizations, with different companies, and cross-collaborate between them in order to be able to bring true innovation and collaboration through the workings of the cluster rather than doing a one-off project through a research program. That's not the idea behind it. So the goal here, as well as the idea behind it, is to be able to continue its workings and to be able to help companies grow in the future with design in mind through the elements that we discussed today, and not having it finished by the end of the year when the research program is over.
Okay, thank you both for this discussion. Good luck to the cluster.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this panel section. According to our agenda, we have a break, but we would like to continue if it's okay to you. Or we can give it just 5 or 10 minutes break, and then we can meet here at 4:10. Okay, let's give a break and then meet 5 minutes later. Thank you.
There won't be a break.
but I'm not sure.
σε μένα. Εντάξει. Πάτα. Βρισκόμαστε στην Beyond και σε λίγο είμαστε έτοιμοι να ξεκινήσουμε με το θεματικό πάνελ που αφορά τη βιώσιμη μόδα και όχι μόνο, αλλά και την ενσωμάτωση της τεχνολογίας και πώς μπορούμε να ωφεληθούμε εμείς από αυτήν. Ο κύριος Δημητρακόπουλος είναι υπεύθυνος από τη σχολή Athens Fashion Club, είναι διευθυντής της σχολής, είναι υπεύθυνος να μας εξηγήσει όλες τις στρατηγικές βιώσιμης μόδας και τα new business models για να είμαστε σύγχρονοι αλλά και ταυτόχρονα συμβατοί με την προστασία του πλανήτη.